7, 6, 5, 4. We've gone for main engine start. We have main engine start.
Ladies and gentlemen, rock and roll.
Imagine a time when music was only heard, not seen. Now that all changed in 1981 when MTV aired its first music video, declaring, "Ladies and gentlemen, rock and roll." But what followed wasn't just rock, it was a revolution. Now before this, music wasn't really a visual medium, it was something that you only listened to. The idea of a TV channel dedicated entirely to music was a little bit unheard of. But on August 1st of that year, a flickering, pixelated moon landing followed by a burst of color changed everything. MTV had arrived. The first word spoken, "Ladies and gentlemen, rock and roll." And with that, the entire music industry wouldn't be the same. Now, MTV didn't just come out of nowhere. To understand how this revolutionary channel came to be, we need to rewind and look at the media landscape before its launch. Because before MTV, music lived in a very different world. Before television, radio was king. The 1950s and 60s saw the rise of the disc jockey, DJs, who could make or break an artist by spinning their records on the radio. Radio personalities like Alan Freed were tastemakers, deciding what America's youth would be obsessed with next. And when TV entered the mix, it wasn't exactly an ally of the music industry. Sure, shows like American Bandstand and The Ed Sullivan Show, and then later The Soul Train, brought live performances to TV screens. But these shows weren't music first, they were variety shows or dance programs with music as a feature, not the star. Fast forwarding to the 70s, rock music was thriving, but you had to go to a concert or catch a band on late night TV to really see them in action. But then there was the music video, if you could even call it that. Now, the concept of a music video wasn't entirely new. The Beatles had experimented with it in the 60s, and Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody proved that a video could boost a song's popularity. But there was no dedicated space for these videos, no platform where an artist could release visuals alongside their music. At the same time though, television networks were shifting their focus to more profitable content. The rise of cable in the late 70s meant more niche channels, but the music had to find its home. Enter a group of ambitious media executives with a bold idea, a television channel that would do for music what ESPN did for sports. On August 1st, 1981, MTV launched with The Bugle's "Video Killed the Radio Star." It was both ironic and prophetic. MTV wasn't just playing music videos, it created a new kind of celebrity, the VJ or video jockey. These hosts became faces of the network, guiding viewers through the latest releases, interviews, and behind-the-scenes moments. For artists, this was a game changer. Now it wasn't just how you sounded, it was about how you looked. Michael Jackson's Thriller, Madonna's Like a Virgin, Prince's When Doves Cry. These videos weren't just promotional tools, they were cultural events. Before MTV, music videos were just an afterthought. Low-budget promotional fluff. If an artist made a video, it was usually just the band playing on a soundstage with some fog and flashing lights. It was never something that really dictated success. But MTV changed that. Suddenly a great song wasn't enough. You had to have a look, a story, and a visual brand. Michael Jackson understood this better than anyone. Thriller wasn't just a music video, it was an event, a cinematic masterpiece, and it worked. That video helped make Thriller the best-selling album of all time. MTV didn't just show videos, it made them essential. Madonna played the game differently. She knew controversy was currency. The Like a Virgin video wasn't just a performance, it was a statement. She used visuals to control the narrative, to provoke, and to make herself unforgettable. The same happened with Prince, Duran Duran, and even David Bowie. They weren't just making music videos, they were crafting personas. And it worked, because MTV wasn't just selling songs anymore, it was selling icons, it was selling an image. Now, of course, this hold on the industry came with a lot of power. They were kind of gatekeepers. If your video wasn't on MTV, you basically didn't exist. And that kind of power meant they weren't just reflecting pop culture, they were kind of creating and curating it. Take Duran Duran. Their music was solid, but what really set them apart were their music videos. MTV made them feel larger than life, glamorous, stylish, and inspirational. Their videos weren't just performances, they were mini-films, dripping with excess and adventure. That visual style made them superstars. Then there was Cyndi Lauper. She wasn't just a singer, she was a character. The neon colors, the playful rebelliousness, it all made her instantly recognizable. She wasn't just making hits, she was making herself a brand. MTV gave her that perfect platform. Now, MTV became so ingrained with pop culture that it wasn't just dictating music. They dictated fashion, slang, and even what the sound of pop music itself would sound like. Now, I'm sure the irony of the first song being played on MTV, Video Killed the Radio Star, I'm sure that irony is not lost on you. MTV changed the landscape where you need to have a visual side to your music. There needs to be a visual brand there, and not every artist wanted that. Some people just wanted to focus on their songwriting, or they didn't necessarily want an image out there. It also cost the record labels a lot of money to make these videos. A lot of fantastic songwriters that weren't really ready to be a big, larger-than-life pop star on screen faded away as MTV's influence grew. The same thing happened with a lot of rock bands from the 70s. They weren't necessarily video friendly enough. Meanwhile, bands like Bon Jovi, they fit right into MTV's formula. Big hair, flashy videos, visual appeal, they really thrived because of it. The shift was brutal, and if you were an artist who relied purely on musicianship, if the appeal of your songwriting wasn't spectacle, you suddenly had to compete with artists who weren't just good musicians, but good at looking cool on camera, and for some that was an impossible battle to win. In the 70s, an album cover might be the only visual representation that an artist gives its audience. But in the 80s, thanks to MTV, an artist had to be constantly visible. That meant every music video, every TV performance, every magazine cover had to reinforce that carefully crafted identity and brand. Now, looking at Madonna again, she was curating an aesthetic. Every new album era had its own look, its own persona. The wedding dress in Like a Virgin, the punk-inspired Desperately Seeking Susan era, the Marilyn Monroe homage in Material Girl, Madonna reinvented herself visually with every release, and that kept her in the spotlight. Now, we can definitely see that lasting effect on the music industry now even. Billie Eilish is constantly changing her look with each of her eras as new albums release. The changes in look and the changes in vibe do correlate with each album's release, but it could also just be because she is a young woman figuring herself out. She became famous at just 15 years old, remember? And when talking about eras, I mean, the Taylor Swift Eras Tour comes to mind immediately because we see so much about that in media right now. Taylor Swift has crafted each one of her eras to be so iconic that she can make an entire tour around it. This spectacle was more or less created by MTV, and we see that impact now. Before MTV, an album's success depended mostly on radio play and word of mouth. But in the MTV era, a music video was basically a commercial for the album. Labels started creating videos like big budget ads designed to make you want the album before you even heard the full thing. And from there, the budgets skyrocketed. In the 80s and the 90s, music videos became mini movies. High production values, complex storylines, massive set pieces. Guns N' Roses spent over $1 million on November Rain. Why? Because an iconic video can sell an entire album. Labels also realized that a single great video could define an entire artist's career. Britney Spears' Baby One More Time video wasn't just a song, it was an image, a character. The schoolgirl look wasn't just random, it was strategic, designed to make her unforgettable, and it worked. Once MTV turned artists into brands, corporations saw an opportunity. Suddenly, musicians weren't just selling albums, they were selling the lifestyles. Musicians suddenly had big influence over their audience's lifestyle. And in that, big money and sponsorships and endorsements came rolling in. Pepsi paid millions to sponsor Madonna's Like a Prayer, only to pull the deal when the video sparked controversy. But the real takeaway, music videos had so much cultural power that a brand sponsorship could make or break a campaign. By the 2000s, you saw a lot more product placement in music videos. Look at almost any pop video from the MTV era onward, and you'll spot brand deals hiding in plain sight. It was never just about the music, it was about the business. Record labels started seeing all of the money possibilities in everything else other than the actual music. Concert tickets, merchandise, fan clubs. The music at its core was becoming way less important, maybe not even the most important thing to the record label. When looking at how can we make money, there were a lot of other opportunities for revenue that were way more consistent. MTV being created in the early 80s is really interesting timing because of the culture in the 80s being very materialistic. Spectacle was the name of the game when it came to music videos and also concerts. Concert technology had come a long way since the 70s, and in the 80s, more concerts are being recorded and now being put on MTV. Artists wanted their concerts to be bigger and louder than ever and be a bigger spectacle than everyone else because it's being shown to so many more people now. They were now staging full theatrical productions, massive video screens, elaborate costumes, choreographed dance routines. MTV had trained their audiences to expect a show, nothing less. That was huge. MTV turned artists into lifestyle brands. Band t-shirts, posters, dolls. If you were an MTV superstar, your image was just as profitable as your music. Now, as MTV faded away from music and into reality TV, it might not be as dominant in the space anymore. But the marketing strategies it created, they're everywhere. Today's artists still rely on that image-first branding. They still use music videos as advertising tools. And they still turn to sponsorships and merch as major revenue streams. Social media is basically the new MTV. Instead of a flashy music video premiering on TV, artists now craft entire eras on Instagram. Instead of waiting for a new music video, fans engage with short-form content or viral clips on TikTok. But the foundation, that was all built in the MTV era. Before MTV, fashion trends were mostly set by movies, magazines, and high-end designers. But once music videos became a global phenomenon, artists weren't just musicians, they were now style icons as well. What they wore in videos, people copied. What they did on stage, fans imitated. MTV made fashion instant, aspirational, and global. MTV secured its spot as the controller of pop culture. Over-the-top styles of the 80s and early 90s too. MC Hammer made parachute pants a thing. Grunge bands made the thrift store flannel look effortlessly cool. And by the late 90s, hip-hop and R&B were setting the fashion trends. Oversized jerseys, baggy jeans, platinum chains. If it was on MTV, people wore it. MTV even later had a fashion show, House of Style, where supermodels and musicians blurred the lines between music and fashion. Of course, not everyone loved what MTV was doing. Critics accused it of turning music into style over substance, and if you didn't have the right image, you struggled. This hit some artists really hard. If you weren't visually appealing, you had a tough time making it big. MTV literally made Video Killed the Radio Star come true. Some of the greatest musicians of the 70s, people who dominated radio, suddenly found themselves irrelevant because they just didn't fit the aesthetic. And then there was controversy. Madonna's Like a Prayer got banned by the Vatican. MTV had to heavily censor videos with sensitive themes or violent imagery. Artists were pushing boundaries, and MTV was caught in between a cultural rebellion and corporate responsibility. By the late 90s, MTV's biggest controversy wasn't about individual videos. It was about what the channel had become. Grunge had proven that authenticity still mattered, but by the end of the decade, MTV had shifted towards polished, corporate-friendly pop, and it felt way less like a music revolution and more like a teen marketing machine. By the 2000s, MTV was barely playing music anymore. Reality shows took over, branding and advertising became more important than ever, and people started wondering, had MTV sold out? For 2 decades, if you wanted to see the hottest new music videos, MTV was your only option. But by the early 2000s, everything changed. The internet exploded and speeds got faster, and suddenly everyone didn't want to wait for MTV to play their favorite music videos again. They could watch them on demand. YouTube launching in 2005 was a game changer. Now anyone could watch any music video anytime, and artists, they didn't need MTV's approval to reach fans. They could upload directly and let the internet do the rest. Meanwhile, illegal downloads, MP3s, and iTunes were reshaping how people consumed music. The old model, radio airplay, MTV rotation, album sales, it was dying fast. And MTV, it had to adapt. With music videos no longer driving ratings, MTV pivoted hard. It started in the 90s with The Real World, but by the 2000s, MTV had become home for reality TV. Jersey Shore, Teen Mom, these proved to pull in massive audiences. And truth was, reality TV was cheaper to produce than music videos. For a new generation now, MTV wasn't about music anymore. It was about drama, partying, and the lifestyle entertainment. And it worked. But it also meant that the MTV brand, the one that had revolutionized music, was fading fast. By the late 2000s, MTV's last major music-related show was officially canceled. MTV had officially moved on from music, and in a way, so had its audience. But here's the thing, Just because MTV stopped playing music doesn't mean its impact disappeared. In fact, its influence is everywhere. TikTok is basically the new MTV. It's where music goes viral, it's where artists get discovered, and it's where image and branding are just as important as music itself. Sound familiar? The difference is the power is being given back to the individual artist. Say what you want about the TikTok algorithm, but it's way more in the power of the people. TikTok has democratized the ability to become big. Artists like Noah Kahan or Olivia Rodrigo or Lil Nas X, they really became big because of TikTok and they were really discovered. Artists still need music videos to build their brand, but instead of debuting on MTV, they're premiering on YouTube, getting cut into TikTok clips, and spreading through Instagram Reels. It's the strategy, and it's still by MTV's playbook, just adapted for a digital age. Even the way artists market themselves, the constant reinvention, the visual storytelling, and the high production aesthetics, it was all started by the MTV era. MTV might not be running the show anymore, but the rules it created still define the industry. Now, if MTV wasn't created, the rise of TV and the rise of video sharing on the internet, someone would have made something equivalent to MTV. Music would absolutely shift into a more visual medium at some point. That's inevitable. And not everyone that loves to create music wants to be in the visual spotlight. That's where there's a lot of artists that actually wear masks and don't prefer to be seen. Take Sia, she's an amazing songwriter and an amazing singer, but she would choose to always cover her face with her hair. That's her iconic thing. And there's a multitude of other examples of people that just want to be left out of the visual spotlight, but still want to create their art and want people to love it all the same. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Did you watch MTV back in the day if you were around then? And if not, I'm curious, how much does a music video impact how you feel about a song? Sometimes when an artist I love puts out an album, they will also put out some music videos for some of the songs. I will always choose to listen to the song first while watching the music video, just because I feel like I can have a deeper understanding about what it means. I think it adds such a fun depth to the music and a deeper understanding of what the artist meant. And as someone that loves to write music myself and loves filmmaking, I get so excited thinking about what I would do for music videos. And as I'm writing an album right now, I'm also planning out what I'm going to do for music videos. Well guys, it's good to be back. I know I haven't uploaded it in about 2 months now, but I'm finally getting back into the swing of things, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed creating it, and I have a lot of great videos planned for the future. I'm having a lot of fun writing scripts for these. And also, if you guys would like to engage with the community here, I would encourage you to go in the description and join our Discord server if that's your kind of thing. It's a place where we can all discuss music and have fun in conversation as a community. I would love to engage with y'all. Also, if you're wondering about any of the equipment I use or any of the equipment I recommend, I have Sweetwater links in the description. I have huge plans for this channel for 2025, and I have plans going forward with Lion Loom, my clothing company. Further details will be shown in the future. But more than that, it's great to be back. I miss talking to y'all, and I would really appreciate if you would subscribe, like, and leave a comment. It boosts engagement, shows it to more people. I'm wishing all of you an amazing 2025, and I will see you guys in the next video.